We're finally back with one of the most anticipated weekends of the year, the Imola Grand Prix, with plenty of upgrades to go over. This weekend starts off with a beautiful gesture from the drivers, doing this nice little track run, which is led by Sebastian Vettel, who always tends to lead these pretty cool events. For Senna, the hashtag forever is for Senna. Clearly, Max didn't get the memo in this picture, but quite the nice gesture from the drivers and a cool thing to see for a legendary driver. We're going to see better pictures of Ferrari, Aston Martin have upgrades here, Mercedes has parts here, Red Bull has parts here. It's going to be quite the video, so thank you so much for stopping by. We're really close to 40,000, so thank you so much. If you're new here, I'd love if you subscribe. It'd mean the world to me, and you guys genuinely are the best that I can ask for. Let's get started into the upgrades going into this weekend, and as always, we start off with the rear wings. Going into this weekend, it's going to be a high to medium downforce type of track. That's what we're going to mainly see with the rear wings. We're not going to see low downforce here, even with a very long straight, because of the cornering and a lot of medium to high speed that you need the downforce for. With Red Bull, we see a medium downforce rear wing. We've seen this throughout the season, nothing new from them. We've seen this rear wing before. Now, Ferrari has that upgraded rear wing for their SF24 Evo, with that quite sharp cutout on the top of that rear wing end plate to create a vortice towards the top, much sharper, much more defined than their previous rear wing. Looking at McLaren, we've seen this before, medium downforce for the McLaren team, and Aston Martin has a pretty medium to high downforce. For both Red Bull and Aston Martin, they're a little bit higher, but it's still considered a medium downforce rear wing. We're going to see much higher downforce in Monaco, which is the next race. But Aston has been really good on top speed. Let's see if the rest of the upgrades that they have brought here are going to help them and the configuration that they've brought. Looking at another three teams, McLaren is pictured here, but we already talked about them. So it's Alpine, Williams, and Mercedes. All of these wings, just going over very quickly. The Alpine is a medium downforce rear wing. It looks different to what they've had before. I think it's a new rear wing, but I'm not exactly certain. At the Williams, we've seen this before. Same rear wing they had in Miami, medium downforce. They also have expected upgrades here, but nothing has been pictured yet. And as we look to the Mercedes, there is an expected rear wing here that's supposed to come. This isn't a new rear wing, so we'll have to see what they've brought here. This is still their medium downforce rear wing that a lot of people love to call the barn door. They've complained a lot about their rear instability, and it's probably going to continue here considering the rear wing that they have, but let's see. The upgrades here aren't going to be as big as I guess we were looking into. It's going to be a few parts. We know a new beam wing is going to come here. There is a picture where I can slightly show you that. Let's go over some much better pictures of the SF24 Evo. As we can see now with this side pod inlet, it looks very much like the Mercedes P-shaped inlet. And that's what I've analyzed from the pictures that we had before that we saw already last Thursday while they were testing the car. It's pretty much confirmed to us that this is a slight overbite, but it's a P-shaped inlet. You can also call it an Alpine one if you want to go with that, mainly because the actual side pod inlet itself is connected now to that bottom vertical inlet. There are slight variations in the floor, seeing it from this new to old. You can see that, but we can even see it better here when you look at the actual Venturi tunnel system in the beginning. You can see this cutout in that first Venturi tunnel. That cutout is exactly like the Red Bull, and they had this on their F175. They abandoned that concept for the SF23. Now they've gone back to it yet again. It seems like more and more teams are going towards this. We saw this on the McLaren car as well, to have this defined cutout for the vortices in that first step of the Venturi tunnel. Looking at the rear part of the car, you can look kind of into that diffuser. We went over McLaren's diffuser the other day ago. I talked about the shaping of the diffuser. You can see that as well, how they've shaped aerodynamically that top part of the diffuser to define the air coming from the bottom of the car. And we've seen this beam wing set up for them before, but this is the new rear wing from the back. There's not much that you can tell from here other than that it's a medium downforce with that lower spoon being pretty big, and the upper plane is pretty big as well, which gives us a tell that it's a medium downforce wing. But it also looks like the back, that Coke bottle shape for the engine cover, is a bit more open for more air to come out of the back for engine cooling, because we don't actually see any gills on the car, but we do have this new shape, which is where I think from that vertical inlet the air is coming out of in that engine cover. It's a new shape that we've yet to see on any other car. It looks quite mean and aggressive, and we do know that it's hot air being spat out to the back of the car, hitting that beam wing for a faster straight line speed. Now this could lose them potentially downforce. I'm assuming that they've already kind of accounted for these losses with gains in other places with the floor and so on. They have been quite quick in a straight line, but not as quick as they were last year. So maybe this is their way of gaining a little bit of straight line speed, also adding on the downforce that we've been expecting with this car. This should be a very big and aggressive upgrade for them. Charles is playing down the expectations, which naturally the team is going to, because obviously we're not going to expect them to fight Red Bull right now, right away, but maybe they do. Maybe this upgrade really is worth that. We're hearing 3 to 4 tenths. The Italian media always loves to boast about how fast and how much time is being gained in these upgrades without actually knowing. Sauber is another one of those teams that's bringing upgrades. From looking at the car and what I've analyzed, we pretty much have the same version of the car, at least coming out of the pit lane. I think we'll see more upgrades on the car on Friday, and I can probably go over those. But the team itself has been rumored to have now a overbite setup coming out like the RB20, but obviously this is the exact same car that we saw in Miami. Let's see what happens. They also have wheel nut upgrades because, you know, their pit stops have been amazing. So they obviously have to change that. Now, looking at the Mercedes car, a lot of people were talking about how this side pod shape is different. Well, it's not. It's the exact same side pod shape that it was in Miami. The only part where we can actually see an upgrade, which was from before, is they've added on to the floor. And if you look at that Venturi tunnel system, as I was talking about with the McLaren, the Red Bull, now that we saw in the Ferrari, they don't have that cutout. They have a different shape towards the front of their car. And when we did see the underfloor of George Russell in Australia, it seems like the same version that we had of last year, but now with a different floor edge and with them actually saying some of the stuff now is correlating. They've been changing the front wing a lot. We've seen already 3 different configurations. They say the air from the front isn't correlating to their wind tunnel, but now they're figuring out how the car works and what they need to go off of. Considering we've just seen on the Ferrari that they've not copied, but used that P-shaped inlet, it seems like Mercedes has the right ideas, but that wind tunnel and simulation is just not working right. They have no correlation between on track and the data on the computer. And it seems like we're constantly talking about, oh, they don't have enough gains. Well, it just doesn't seem like the car is fast enough and they need bigger upgrades, but they can't do that yet without the correct correlation. On the McLaren, just going over the little cooling outlet that they've added, we didn't really see this in Miami. They always go with this weird cooling setup to where it's kind of curved, not a straight line, but it's been working out for them. A very quick car with very quick expectations. We have better pictures of the side pod as well and that floor set up with it, which was all upgraded for this car and big expectations for them. Now going over the big boy, Aston Martin has also brought a huge upgrade here along with Ferrari. These are the 2 biggest upgrades that we can see. This is a picture from the pit lane. This is the upgraded version. Supposedly right now it's on Lance's car. I really hope it's not just one car and they actually bring it to both. But the biggest things that we can see right now is that front wing completely upgraded from before. And same thing with Mercedes. It seems like the same issues are going on with Aston Martin. Their rears are getting cooked way too early on in the race, which kills their race pace very quickly. It's why they're good in qualifying. Monaco could be a big track for them, but they're supposed to be addressing this. It's supposed to be a huge step. They have upgrades for Monaco and Barcelona. Now, looking at the front wing, you can see this weird divot right there in the R and the C, and it's a big cutout in the front wing, something we've not really seen before. My assumption is that this is to promote more outwash from the front wake, going around the tire to promote better tire airflow. And we also see that the front of the wing, they've actually backed up that nose just the slightest bit. They've added that middle part to split the air. Isn't going to really do much, but that is necessary for the car right now. And the nose shape is a bit different. It's quite the adjustment on this front wing, with them also adding on to those front wing end plates. You can see that now the actual end plate itself is more straight lined, and it's not connected to those little bottom parts of the wing. And these are all additional upgrades to obviously add pace to the car. Alonso's expecting a big step within the car, because not just that, they've also brought a new floor here, which looking at this floor, it is still very similar to that of the past floor. We don't have a great picture of the floor just yet. These are parts that we're going to see on the car probably for Friday. There is also a side pod coming here to this car. And people looking at this picture say that this is a overbite. Well, I don't want to kill the parade, but looking at this picture, it's the exact same side pod shape that it was on the undercut car with that huge shape. In overcut, we wouldn't really see these covers as much as we do. It's the same shape, but we do know there is a side pod upgrade coming here, and it's supposed to be a very big step for the car. We can see that these front brake ducts seem to be more upgraded and new on the car. There's going to be a lot of additional pieces. We know we're going to see a new diffuser and a completely different floor. So I'm excited. It's going to be a big race for them. They have a lot to prove here, and I do have belief. I really hope that they can actually show up, because it's been a tricky year and a half for upgrades on Aston Martin. They got to take a big step. They got to fight with the big dogs. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you guys think for Imola? Quite the exciting weekend. A lot of upgrades. It's going to be fun. I'm expecting a big run from Ferrari. McLaren's going to be good here. Aston, Red Bull, obviously. I hope Mercedes takes another step. It should be a lot of entertainment, and I'm definitely going to be covering a lot more this weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.